Chapter 67. As the pair of time machines entered the vortex, the Ever-TARDIS was still latched onto Purge with a neon violet beam, and no matter what the insolent Time Lord inside did, he could not shake the grip of Deceit's souped-up, self-aware time capsule. Despite the best efforts of Mr. Blue, Purge's interior was jolted with terrible wrenching and shaking as she tried to loosen herself from the Ever-TARDIS. At his wit's end, the Time Lord in the cobalt suit finally slammed coordinates into his multi-sided futuristic podium. "Where are we headed to?" Sully asked, while tending to the still unconscious Don Rothlanders III. Mr. Blue was able to say, "Last-ditch effort," before another horrific blast sent flame from the aquamarine terminal he had been working at. Deep in the temporal vortex, Purge began to spin in concentric circles. At first, this action dug the attached Ever-TARDIS in a wide orbit around Purge. Then, the orbit became smaller, much more rapid, as Purge spun faster and faster, and the Ever-TARDIS drew closer. Sully placed a coat under D3's head and steadied himself as he made his way to the smoking, sparking control console. Mr. Blue used his azure tie to swat away the blackened haze as his retired Commodore friend asked, "Last-ditch effort to get rid of Deceit's time machine?" In the vortex, Purge was spinning so fast that trails were left from the bright purple tractor beam of Deceit's Ever-TARDIS, the force of the speed only increasing, pulling it closer, ever closer to Purge. Purge was fast enough to lash herself to the lilac-colored grapple laser emitted from Deceit's time capsule by spinning around rapidly, concentrically, and reeling it in. It was close now. So reeled in that the Ever-TARDIS couldn't release, even if it wanted to. Purge kept spinning until the Deceit time machine was virtually on top of it. "Hold on, Sully!" "Hold on to what?" "Just hold on!" There was a tremendous collision in the vortex. Sycamore Downs, United Kingdom, 1944. "Emergency temporal shift! Emergency temporal shift!" The battered thing kept screaming. Nicholas Baker crossed his arms, peering down with dissatisfaction at the strange discovery. "And there's no way you can shut this thing up?" His unit attaché, Rye Munro, shook his head. "Been like this for hours, mate, since the moment I took it out of the bay." They listened to the blackened, charred wreck that lay on the inspecting table before them. The screeching was a cross between an insectoid noise and something robotic, artificial. Along with the artificial voice, it was obviously encased in some sort of armor and had two protrusions that were most likely weapons. They appeared to have been a third appendage, some sort of vision apparatus, but that had been sheared right off, presumably during the crash. Nicholas cleaned his glasses, then looked closer. "So what's the embassy calling it?" "Apparently Torchwood has a lead on the biotype already. They've named it Dalek." Nicholas cringed. "Torchwood? I hate those bloody asinine." "Is that right?" Captain Jack Harkness smiled as he strode into the room. This irritated Nicholas further. Harkness looked around the tiny, cramped inspection station. "And you would just have to say that right as I was coming into the room, eh? Talk about lousy luck." Nicholas removed his glasses, sternly pointed them at his friend. "Did you authorize this?" Rye puffed on his smoke. "Sure, Nick." He poured on the sarcasm. "Because I just adore Harkness that much?" Ladies, Captain Jack said. "You're both pretty, since you both work for UNIT." "Wrong," Nicholas corrected. "I'm just an advisor for UNIT." Captain Jack removed the strange device from his trench coat. "Uh-huh." Nicholas pointed at Rye. "I'm a forensic pathologist, and I work for the Crown. He works for UNIT. You're Captain Jack was arranging the device, attaching pieces. "Sure." Rye looked back at Nicholas as he blew out smoke. "I'm a staff sergeant." Captain Jack completed assembling the strange weapon. "Right." He pointed it at the Dalek. Wait. Nicholas placed his hand on Captain Jack's device, lowering it. "What the hell are you doing?" Captain Jack laughed, priming the weapon with a pump. "Look, Nick, my friend." "I'm not your friend," Nicholas corrected again. "I'm an advisor with UNIT, so you need to tell me what Torchwood is doing in my lab." Captain Jack sighed. Nicholas Baker crossed his arms again. And kindly refrain from calling me Nick. His friend and unit attaché, Rye Monroe, stubbed out his cigarette and stared over at Harkness. Captain Jack lowered the futuristic weapon and conceded. This Dalek is an alien. We have to destroy it. Okay. Nicholas kept his arms crossed. Why? Harkness leaned the weapon back on the table. Aside from the fact that this is one Dalek that could take out an entire city, sure, let's put that on the back burner for a second. What? Rye asked. Harkness didn't answer. This Dalek fell through a temporal rift, a vortex embolism, which is still here. The blank faces of Nicholas Baker and Rye Monroe let Captain Jack know that he had their attention, even if they had no idea what he was talking about. So he continued. Which unit and Torchwood have decided to guard. They will be sitting up here, Mr. Baker, and in your little lab. Nicholas looked over to Rye, who just shook his head in bewilderment. A temporal shift? A vortex embolism, Nicholas repeated. Captain Jack nodded lightly as he listened before raising his voice when he answered. A hole in time. He peered back and forth at Nicholas and Rye. Okay, you jackasses, a hole in time. Yes, this bizarre, hostile alien fell through a hole in time, and I am here to exterminate it. Without any further fanfare, and without being stopped by the unwitting witnesses, Captain Jack blasted the Dalek into smithereens, leaving little but ash on Nicholas Baker's lab table. Rye peered up at this. Dog's bollocks! He patted Nicholas on the shoulder. If we're all done then, let's hit the pub, mate. He was turning to leave when Captain Jack stopped him. That's funny, Staff Sergeant. He handed Rye the strange yet advanced and powerful gun. I was ordered to take care of the immediate threat, but the hole is still here. Harkness began to leave. Rye was lighting another cigarette, giving the bizarre weapon a close look when Nicholas rushed past him, grabbing Captain Jack. Nicholas spun the good-looking, affable, and immortal Torchwood agent round, then slammed him against the wall outside. So what does that mean for my lab? For Monroe and I? Captain Jack leaned his head to the side, grinning. Well, it all means that you, Nicholas Baker, and Rye Monroe, you two in there are the commanding officers for this unit project. Unit project? Nicholas began to shake his head. No. Captain Jack was still smiling when he said, Welcome to Operation Timepiece.